Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome aboard. I'm Janet, and I'm with Memory Bound. I'm coming to you live from my craft room in Texas. So we're going to let a few people get on before we jump into today's agenda. How's everybody doing this morning? Let us know if you're in the freezer zone. I tell you what, it is cold here in Texas. And luckily, now I know I'm from Iowa, I shouldn't be cold already, but it is cold for Texas. It is in the low 40s this morning where we are, and luckily I have not planted anything in the ground yet. I have things in pots, so I was able to bring everything in the garage last night. So we are safe from a gardening standpoint, but it is a little colder than it should be at this time of year. It is 47. I'm getting the weather report from my husband here, who's got the camera. He says it's 47 degrees now, which I think is cold for this time of year.
But sunny.
But sunny, so we'll take that. And it's supposed to be, what, in the 50s today? So
60.
And believe me, I guess in the summertime we'll be happy that it's a little chilly now. So we'll be looking back on these days fondly.
68 is where we're going today.
68. Well, not too bad. Not too shabby. Well, if you joined us yesterday, thank you for being here. Yesterday we tried a new thing for us, which was a split screen. So we had a video from Memory Bound in Ankeny, and then we jumped on the video from here in Texas, and we had a split screen. And we did have some challenges, I would guess, I could say, with that technology. So I'm going to start today by reviewing what we talked about yesterday, the Kaleidoscope cards, and make sure that everybody gets a closer look at them. So I think we will get started with that here in just a second. And I do have my husband on the video this morning. He came back for another day, so I guess that's a good thing. And the other thing that we are doing this morning is I'm going to launch our new birthday card kit. Everyone needs birthday cards, and this is a particularly fun and colorful set of cards that I just finished a little while ago, and we've got those kits available for sale. So I think what we're going to do to make things really easy this morning, hopefully, is we're going to put the camera in the overhead arm. And
Do you want to do that now?
Yep, let's go ahead and do that now. And we will make it so that everybody can see really nicely. So while Jay is doing that, and just hold on to your hats, I guess, let me just mention that we are right in the middle of our March Distress Madness at Memory Bound. And you can vote on your favorite color combinations. We are headed to the final 4 of Distress Ink, which will be very, very fun. So the gals at the store put together some wonderful color combinations, and everyone has been enjoying voting on their favorites. So after this video, you can go out and vote on today's competitions. And Kelly wanted me to tell you this morning that we will do a separate video later after this video, sometime later this morning, about the current state of our Distress Bracket Challenge. So everybody is enjoying it, and even if you're not a basketball fan, this is something that all crafters can get behind. So we've had a great time with it so far. So now we have set up our arm, and hopefully everybody can see us okay. Give us a thumbs up if you can see what's on the screen. So it looks good to me. So gotta love technology.
I think that's our border.
Yay, great. I'm gonna set my coffee down in a safe place. Let me grab the cards. All right. So I want to just do a kind of a review of what we talked about yesterday. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is the Kaleidoscope card kit. We are doing an online class on April 2nd, and it will be in a private Facebook group, which is a super fun way to do an online class. We've done a few of these now, and it's been wonderful, because when you have an online group, you are in a private space where everybody can chat and get to know each other. So it's a really nice way to build community in the crafting world, and we've really enjoyed it. And the other thing that we can do in an online group is we can easily ask questions and post our projects and that sort of thing. So we love the online format. The videos will all be posted in that group, and you can go back and watch them for a very long time afterwards. So I think the online group format is wonderful. So if you purchase the kit, which is $47.99, you will get an adorable bag, and I don't have it here to show you, but Kelly showed it yesterday, and you can certainly look at it online. It's a zipper bag with all the kit contents in it, and the zipper bag you can of course use for things in your craft room. So it's super, super cute. So the next thing that I will mention is in your kit, you're going to find instructions, and you will have color photos, you will have sketches that we're going to be using, and you will have 4 different text sheets for all the inserts for the 12 cards that we're going to be making. And because I had a little extra space, you guys, I couldn't resist giving you a few extra cut-aparts, and I figured probably nobody would mind having a few extra pieces for their cards, because you're going to have plenty of extra pieces for your card making after we're done with class. And in fact, I laid them out here, and I've been carefully trying not to spill them until we got to today. But look at all the extra pieces that you're going to have. And these are the mini laser cuts from the 49 in Market Kaleidoscope collection, and they are absolutely beautiful. And they're small, they're scaled for cards, which I absolutely love. So you're going to have all of these left over, plus you're going to have enamel dots left over too, and I think you can make a bunch of cards with that. In fact, what I would suggest is if you're purchasing the kit, go ahead and pick up an extra box of the note cards and envelopes and the color vibe, which I used for these cards, and then you'll be able to make additional cards of your own design, or you can reuse some of the sketches that we have in the class kit. So I wanted to let everyone know, when you purchase a kit, you will have a cutting guide and all the materials we just went over, and there will be a pre-work video that we will be doing live in the private group that you can join and do all your cutting with me. And then we'll get all of our envelopes prepared and all of our pieces prepared for class. So it's going to be great. And Jay, can you take a look at and see if we have any questions or comments that need to be answered?
Mostly a lot of greetings and people saying hello.
Great, great. Yeah, if you could just keep an eye on those comments, that would be wonderful. And I think Kelly is here and she's linking for us. So if you're interested in purchasing the kit, we've got that available under our kits. And I think if you just type in Janet Kaleidoscope Cards or something like that, you'll be able to find it. One special thing that I would suggest that you have for this class, if you don't already have it, this would be a good reason to buy it, are the stitched rectangle dies. And we do have those linked on our website. This one is by My Favorite Things, and it has, as you can see, a whole bunch of different sizes. And I did use them on, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 cards. And I think that stitched outline just adds so much. So if you don't have it yet, you can still make the cards, absolutely. Without it, you would just cut a plain rectangle to that same size. So let me just go over the cards a little more closely so you can get a better look. We have 4 sketches that we're going to be using in class, and we'll be making 3 cards each with the sketches. And the way I'm going to show them now is just kind of randomly. They're not going to be in any particular order, but I do want you to see the kinds of fun things that we're going to be doing and to see the beautiful laser cuts. Again, these are the mini laser cuts from 49 in Market, and Katie Perteet, the designer there, just does a wonderful job. And I had so much fun using them. I thought, well, why not put a few on the inside too, which I don't know about you guys, but I often don't think about decorating the insides of the card. But when you have so many and they coordinate so beautifully, why not? So the card bases are 3 colors, and this one happens to be a pink one, and this is a blue one. And I used velvet ribbon, you guys, which is very, very fancy and so fun. And I put a little bit of score tape underneath there and just ran that velvet ribbon, 2 lengths of it right across the card. And that was super fun. And look at this flower on the inside. That just adds so much. So I particularly love this color. So this is one of the blue card bases. Oh, and let me show you. Totally forgot to bring over. Look, you guys, you also get these beautiful colored envelopes. And wouldn't this be the most beautiful presentation? Gosh, would you put the blue one with it, or would you put the green one with it? I don't know. I think you could do either. And here you could put the green card or green envelope with it, or you could put the pink. So you have these beautiful envelopes, and these are the ones that would be super easy to line as well. You could put Color Vibe or a matching Kaleidoscope paper inside the envelope to line it. So your card kit comes with all the envelopes and all the card bases. And again, we're making 12 cards. So you're going to have a nice stash for your card box. And this is one of my favorite cards in the class. This happens to be one of the cards that we've made a lot, which is the book fold card. But this time I made it with a black border along this side, which to me looks kind of like a composition book. So I had a super fun time with this card, and I absolutely love how the pieces came together. That peach and the blue is super fun. So again, this is a sketch, but I just turned it into a book fold, and then here's this little bird on the inside. I think he might be a hummingbird, not 100% sure. So then that's a blue card, and then this is a card that is a white card base that I cut one of the included green card bases for a panel on the front. So that's another way to stretch your card kit a little bit more, is by cutting apart the card bases. And you can do that with virtually any card kit that you have. And of course, I couldn't resist using a little bit of the grid ribbon and the silk ribbon. But isn't that like the most beautiful die cut? It's just so pretty, and really you don't need much else on your card when you have pretty things like that to work with, and something matching on the inside. So that's a fun card to do as well. And this is one of the folds that you guys have probably seen me do before, but I absolutely love how it works for this particular sketch. Cut off the top, added some of the laser cuts to the front, and then on the inside added one of the matching flowers. Now this is a sympathy card, so one of the things that I want everyone to think about as we are doing this class is how many different kinds of themes you can use a particular sketch for. So you don't have to use it for only one theme. By just tweaking the embellishments that you're using, the colors, you can make it work for situations like sympathy as well. So this happens to be another card made with the same sketch. And on the inside, we have the little butterflies and the tickets, which I think this is just a really fun and colorful way to add a pop of color to the inside. So that's another one. And here's a green card with a different sketch, a little bit of ribbon here, the enamel dots that are included in your kit. And this is one of those thinking of you cards might be suitable for serious illness or something like that. So again, I just love those birds and the matching flowers. So let me ask Jay, are there any questions so far?
Not directly. There's a few products that have been linked, and we're up to 167 viewers here.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Kelly is on the job this morning doing the linking and drinking, I assume, from Ankeny.
She's linked your dies
Great.
and your virtual class link.
Great, excellent. Thank you, Kelly. If you guys have followed us, you know that I'm the normal linker and drinker. I've got my drink here, but I'm not linking. So I appreciate Kelly's help with that this morning. So here's another card that I absolutely love making these cards with strips, and they're so practical and so handy to make because oftentimes we have little scraps of paper that we need to use up that are matching. So both of these cards were made with that particular design, and I just think that they're just such a practical way to use up your leftover papers. And look at this totally cute little safety pin and tag ephemera piece, which is included. And there are several of these that I didn't even use. Super, super cute. Here's a card base that I cut down because you know I like to cut my card bases down, and made into a congratulations card. And this looks like ribbon, but it's actually ephemera. So the laser cuts are super realistic. A couple more here. So we've got sending you healing wishes, and I just love the addition of the flowers and the butterfly to the inside. It just, I don't know, I just feel like it adds another dimension to the card. And then another birthday card. And again, you could certainly add embellishments to the inside. So that's an overview, or closer look of the Kaleidoscope cards that we showed you yesterday. And I am really hoping that everybody can join me for class. It's going to be so much fun, and I don't want you to worry about getting ready for class because we are going to do that in the pre-work or video that we do in the group. The class is April 2nd. If you are busy that day, not a worry at all. You can watch it anytime you want, and you can pause as much as you need to when you're watching on the replay. So that will be a super fun way to make these cards. And at the end of the class, we'll have 12 cards ready to put on your tracker for the year and put in your card box to send out. So let me see if there are any questions before we jump into our next little thing.
Someone is asking if there's a link to the extra card bases.
Yes, and Kelly can link those too. If you are, if you would go to the link for the card kit itself, the Kaleidoscope cards, it should be linked at the bottom of that page. You should see some extra products that you might need for class, and you should be able to find it there. But if not, Kelly can certainly link it too. Great question. And I would definitely suggest that you pick up an extra box, because with that you'll be able to use up all of your leftovers. And speaking of leftovers, one of the things I want to talk with you today about is using your leftovers from a card kit, because I don't know about you guys, but leftovers are probably my favorite part of dinner and my favorite part of a card kit as well. So I'm going to switch gears now, and we're going to talk about birthday. So I'm going to lay all of these out, and let me ask, does anybody have any questions about the Kaleidoscope cards before we move on? Anything
You do have a
else?
link for the card bases is up now. So
Excellent. Thank you, Kelly.
people just loving the cards.
Thank you so much, you guys.
A lot of comments about that.
I have loved putting it together, and golly, the Kaleidoscope papers and ephemera are so absolutely beautiful. I promise you are going to love them. And we're going to totally switch color schemes now to something completely different, and we're going to talk about birthdays. So everybody needs birthday cards, and so I had the pleasure of working on this birthday card kit a few weeks ago, and we now have the kits available for launch.
Someone's asking if these cards are a mix of sizes or if they're all the same.
For these, or for the Kaleidoscope cards all are A2 size, and these are all A2 size as well. And you'll see some of them are square, but they do have an extension. They have a piece extending off the edge, and but they do still fit in an A2 envelope. And let me just grab one here. So you'll see. I don't know about you guys, but have you ever made a card that doesn't fit in the envelope? Raise your hand. I sure have. So I was very cognizant of that, and these do still fit in an A2 envelope. So all of these and the ones that I showed you previously are all A2 size. But after we're done looking at these, I'm going to show you a couple of different sizes that I love to make, because we're going to use up some of our leftovers today. So let's take a look at this particular kit. This kit is called It's Your Birthday, and it is online now. It is $36.99, and it will make 8 cards. And I absolutely love the bright colors of this collection. This is an Echo Park collection, just so fun, and has so many different colors and so many different patterns, and they all work together beautifully, which is such a nice thing when you're working with a collection like this, because you know everything's going to match. And in your kit, you will get a 6x6 sheet or 6x6 pad of paper and ephemera to use on all of these cards. So I wanted to also just mention a couple of things in terms of supplies. The supplies that you need are listed on the website, and we've got everything linked if you happen to need anything. Probably the only things that I would point out are a 1/2-inch circle punch, which I think a lot of us have, and a 1-inch circle punch. And then one item that I left off the list is 1/4-inch score tape. So if you got 1/4-inch score tape, that'll do. If you have 1/8-inch score tape, that will work fine too. So that was left off the list. It is on the website as well. So just make sure you have that, and I'll show you why you're going to need that in just a second. So let's take a look at the cards. Well, yes, let's just go ahead and start with that. So the first 2 cards are both made with a diagonal sort of design. And the first one I made with strips of cut apart pieces, which I think is a really fun way to create a card. You can also do this with washi tape. Super fun. And then the second card I made with a similar design, but instead of strips, I thought, well, why couldn't I use the 2x2 cut aparts that are in the paper pad? So I used 2 rows of the 2x2 cut aparts, and then I popped up a couple in the middle, which I ended up loving that idea, and that worked really great. So these 2 are designed with kind of the same format, but one with a different look than the other. And then of course, each card has its own insert, and these will be suitable for any age person. They could be used for kids or adults. So those are the first 2 cards. I'm going to set this to the side. And the second 2 cards, I wanted to use what I call a grid type design, which is when you line everything up so that it's kind of like a quilt block, so everything is nice and tidy and equally spaced. And so this particular card has these items that are arranged in a grid, and then you open it up and it's got a smaller piece here, and then this card has different items which are arranged in a grid. And when I'm looking at an ephemera pack like you get with this kit, one of the things that I often do is I just lay out all the pieces, and I start to look at which pieces do I have that are the same size, either the same length or the same shape. And if they are the same size, I think those could probably be used on a grid size or a grid card, because if you look here, these 2 pieces are the same, exact same shape. These 2 pieces are the exact same length. And so when you have things that are the same size and shape, they're really easy to line up in a grid format. So I love a good grid card. And so I thought I would include a couple in here because you have some perfect pieces that work for that. You've got an elongated one here, a rounded corner greeting, and then 2 smaller ones. So same idea, different card design. So again, you can't go wrong with a good grid design. So then I decided I needed to do a couple of pocket cards. And so if you look at this card here to the left, this one has a pocket here at the bottom, and then the greeting just slides right in here. And this is just a cut apart. It's one of the 3x3 cut aparts that's in the pad, and it just tucks right in there. And I thought that was just so much fun. And wait till you see how that is made. I'll show you in just a sec. This is the other one that I made using the same format. So it actually starts out exactly the same card, but I rotated it and I put a cut apart on the front and made the other cut apart into a tag. So this just slips in, but it's really, it starts as the same card. And I'm going to show you, while we're talking about this, I'm going to show you how this is made, just in case anyone wants to try it. If you have a regular A2 card base, what you're going to do is fold it back on itself, or you can score it at 2 1/8. You want to score it at the halfway point. So a card base is 4 1/4 wide. So you would score this at 2 1/8. And let me just grab my scoring board down here.
While you're doing that, there's a couple people who have talked about maybe needing a little help to make envelopes for different sizes of cards if they don't fit the normal one, or and someone replied there is a We Are envelope punch board that works for that.
Yes, and maybe Kelly could comment on if that is an item we have at the moment, but absolutely, and that would be a great demo for us to do. Because I know occasionally you do run into a situation where you've got a card that needs to be cut down. Now, if I were sending this card in a regular envelope, what I would probably do is cut another panel of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 cardstock to fit in, so that it fills up the envelope and it ensures that it's not too floppy, and it kind of supports that extra piece. So that is a great question, and hopefully Kelly can comment on that. So back to this particular card design. If you want to make this, again, you're going to start with a regular card base, and you're going to score the front at 2 1/8 inch, and that is just simply the halfway point. So when you do that, and I bet you guys have made this card before, oftentimes we will fold this back and then we'll put a cut apart on here, and it opens like this. But I was looking at this fold and I thought, you know, jeepers, why couldn't you just make that into a pocket? So you could leave this flap on the outside, or you could put it on the inside, glue it together, and then this is where you're going to need your score tape. You're going to put your score tape here and here, and then all of a sudden you've got this pocket situation. And just to kind of finish it out, I rounded the bottom 2 corners to make it look more like a pocket. Just grab my old corner rounder here, and just adding that rounding at the bottom makes it look just a little more like an actual pocket. So that's how that card is created from the get-go, and I think it's just such a fun way to switch up your card making. So there's those 2. So that's the 5th and 6th card, and the 7th and 8th card are super, super fun. These are both square cards with this extended piece off the edge, but they are both made with a slightly different fold. And you'll get the instructions for making both of these. I created 2 different versions of the cards, and you will see what's different about them when I open them. So this one, the corners slant down, and this one slants down and one slants up. And by making this cut differently, you'll see it folds and comes together differently on the front. So with this one, the 2 triangles overlap, and with this one, this is really cool. the two triangles fit together diagonally. It's really, really easy to do, and you're going to see. You will get instructions for both, but I just wanted to show you real quickly how easy it is to do this. So one of the cards, well, both of the cards start with a 4x12 shape paper. So I just grabbed a scrap of paper, and you can see that you're going to need to make a couple of score lines, and it's easy because you'll score at 4 inches here and 4 inches from the other side. So 4 and 8. So I'm going to quickly do that. And here's where you then need to make your diagonal cut. So I'm just folding in just so that this is a little more obvious to me where the fold is. You're going to make a diagonal cut from the lower outside corner all the way up to the top, and then one from this outside corner all the way up to the top of the score line. So I'm just going to see if I can get this in frame so y'all can see. And I would put this in my trimmer such that I've got the outside bottom corner in the trough where it's going to cut, and I'm just going to line that up with the very top of the score line. And I'm just going to make that cut. So I'm just removing that triangle piece, and I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So again, I'm turning my paper in my trimmer so that I line up that little corner with the trough where it cuts, and then line up the top again where it cuts. And having this wire on here is super, super helpful. So there you go. So you're just going to remove those two pieces of material. And then when you close the card, one side goes over the other side. So that's how this particular design is made. So in your kit, I gave you a second way to make the other design, but instead of using a 4x12 piece of paper, you'll start out by using two card bases that are glued together. So I think it's a fun way to learn a slightly different variation on the original card, but using a different format to start with. But the shape ends up being very similar. So both of those are fun, and they are included in your kit. So let me ask before I go on, Jay, if there are any other questions about the cards?
Just a lot of positive comments still.
Yay!
So one person was asking for a class that will teach them to see the way that you see.
That is very sweet.
Well, you gotta have your glasses on.
Well, first of all, yes, I do have to have my glasses.
And you have to be wearing the correct ones.
Yes, yes. My husband is a retired optometrist, so glasses are very important, but you know what? I oftentimes have the wrong ones on, and I oftentimes lose my glasses, so that's the way it goes. I wanted to just take a second and show you a little bit about the cutting guide that's included in your kit, because I know if you see this, you might say, holy cow, this is complicated, but it really truly is not. So I wanted to cut a couple of the sheets of paper that I have left over with this to show you how to approach this, and you'll see that it's very simple. So when you get your kit, it will have a paper pad included, and we gave every person a half of the paper pad, so you get 12 of the 24 sheets, and you can see mine is well loved. I've been using it up. So each of the papers, when you pull them out of the pad or see them in your kit, they don't have a name on them because they came out of a pad. So I had to name them myself. So hopefully this will all make sense to you. For instance, the sheet that says 6x6 text and orange plaid, that's this one. So there's text on the back side and there's orange plaid on this side. So let's just take a look at how we would cut this. The first thing that you might notice is if you happen to have a hanging circle at the top, you want to cut that off so that you are working with a 6x6 piece of paper. So what I would do is put this in your trimmer at 6 inches and then just make the cut so that you start out with a true to size piece of paper. Now you can see on this particular diagram, we're only going to use a little bit of this paper, and we're not going to use any of the paper at the bottom. So I always tell you which side is going to be up, so which side you're going to be using so that you'll know. And then I always tell you where to start your cut. So here in this case you see a 2-inch, so that means that you're going to measure down 2 inches from the top and cut straight across. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. Normally I would say look at what's on the back, but here we're not going to use the back side, so it really doesn't matter too much. So I'm going to make the first cut at 2 inches from the top. I'm going to set this aside because we don't need that. And then the other dimension that is listed here is 5.5. So that 5.5 indicates that it's 5.5 inches wide. So I'm going to make my second cut at 5.5 inches. And now this piece is ready for the card. And you can see it's going to be used on card number 5, which happens to be this card that we were talking about earlier. So that is exactly how you're going to do it. And so I would mark this piece with a Post-it note for card number 5 and make a whole bunch of piles for each card. And when you're done cutting these pieces, then you'll have everything ready for each of your cards. So hopefully that makes sense to everyone. And let's do another one just to make sure that that is really easy. So the first thing I'm going to do is, if you happen to have a hole in your paper, and I'm not sure that all of our kits have the holes, if you don't, then you're good to go. If you do have the hole, just position your paper at 6 inches and just remove that hole if you would. Then you know you're starting with the right size paper. So this paper, and again, I had to name these on my own. I was totally unsupervised. So these I just called circles, and this I called yellow stripe. I guess that makes sense. So if you look here, you're going to find this particular diagram is for this particular sheet of paper, the circles and the yellow stripe. So over here, the number that you see at the side tells you where you need to make your first cut. So your first cut is going to be made 1 inch down from the top. So, and it looks like I'm not going to use the yellow side at all, so I'm just going to use the circle side. So I'm going to make my first mark, or my first cut, 1 inch down from the top. So that gives me a 6x1 piece, and then I would just mark that for card number 2, like so. And then the next cut that needs to be made is going to be 2 1/8 inch deep and 5.5 inches wide. So we're going to make that first cut at 2 1/8, and then we're going to turn it, and we're going to make our second cut at 5.5. And that gives us our second cut for card number 6. And what I would do if I were doing this at home, I am at home. If I were you doing this at home, I would use a Post-it note so I weren't writing on the back of something. And then here we should have a 3 inch piece, 3 1/8 inch piece of circle paper. And we're just going to cut that, and that's ready to go. And that is for card number 8. And let's see what that looks like. And it's right here. And that piece will go right here. So that's a little bit on how to use the cutting guide. So I think you'll find it very easy, and not a problem at all. So don't be intimidated when you see a cutting guide like that. Super, super easy to follow. And I think that having your pieces cut ahead of time makes everything go really smoothly. So I wanted to just spend the rest of my time talking with you about leftovers, because I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love leftovers. Even like leftovers from dinner, I get very excited about having leftovers. And Jay, you're not a huge fan of leftovers, are you?
I'd rather go to a restaurant.
He'll have leftovers like one day, maybe 2 days, but definitely not 3 days in a row for sure. But I love leftovers, and in fact, I get more excited about the leftovers than I do sometimes about the original meal. I really do. But I also love leftovers with card kits, and anytime I'm making something project-wise, I keep the leftovers and oftentimes use them for making cards. So I wanted to show you how much you can make from these leftovers. And what I've got here is some of my leftover paper and more of my leftover paper. And you've got all this ephemera, and you've got enamel dots as well. So you're going to be able to make a lot of extra cards. You would need card bases, of course, but I would challenge you to see how much can you make. And you might recognize this paper because I actually made some cards from leftovers last week when we showed the sketches, the layout and card sketches that Peggy and I did. So I made these 3 cards from the leftovers from your kit. So you will have many, many leftovers that you can do some really fun things with. So this is a strip card, this is a little 4x4 card, and then this is just another card where I cut off a strip. So these 3 I made with leftovers. And I want to show you some other ones that I was thinking about that you could make with your leftovers. You will end up with quite a few extra cut aparts. So I thought, well, let's make a slimline card. I think that would be super fun. So a slimline card is going to be an elongated card, and I like to make slimline cards by cutting down a 5x7 or an A7 card. And I'm going to grab my trimmer and do that real quick. So this card starts out as 5x7 on the front, and I'm just going to trim it down to 3.5 inches wide. And that gives me my slimline card. And we do have these awesome little slimline envelopes, and we've got a couple of different options for slimline envelopes, but I happen to have a stash of these craft ones, which I think are great. And by cutting your card base down to 3.5 inches by 7, it fits perfectly in this size card base. So I was looking at my leftovers, and I thought, well, what could I do with the pieces I have left? And again, like I said before, I like to look for things that are already cut to the same size. So I happen to have these papers that were cut, they're leftover papers, and they were all 2 inches. So I thought, well, you know what? I think we could make a version of one of those, you know, diagonal stripe cards like I had at the very beginning. Remember, I had one that went like this. I thought, well, let's make the strips go straight. So let's go ahead and find my adhesive here.
There's a link up now for your favorite slimline envelope.
Oh, yay. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, those envelopes are super great. And I am just going to put this paper across my card base. I'm not going to worry that it's a little bit long right now because I'm just going to grab my trimmer and cut it off. And guys, I'm just going to make this up as I go. But this is the kind of thing that I absolutely love to do, is just seeing what I could make with my leftovers. So instead of making the card like I did the original, where I put the strips diagonally, I made them go straight across. And let's just flip this over, and we're just going to cut off what's hanging over. So we are cooking with gas, as they say. So we've got that, and I think it's already looking cute. So I brought over what I had left of the cut-aparts. So I've got one of these left, and I've got this one, and I've got this one. So I wanted to kind of share my thought process for why I ended up going with this one. And it is because I didn't have any orange in the paper. So I did not choose this one, and I didn't choose this one because I felt like it needed more green. So I ended up going with this one because I thought it did a nice job of tying in the paper. Even though there's orange on here, I felt like it all worked together a little bit better. So I'm going to put this at the top. And another thing that I like to do with my leftovers is if I've got small pieces, I will cut stars. So here I just took some leftover solid paper and some leftover star paper and just cut stars of different sizes. And then I popped up this and many more piece. And let's see, I think I'll just put these little guys down here. I'm not sure how I had this arranged. I think I had the red one up here. I think that's what I had in mind. And we'll do the many more below it. And again, this is with leftovers. So I encourage you to, when you have leftovers, keep them and see what you can make from them. Yeah, I would send that card for sure. And we'll put these two blue ones down at the bottom. What I wanted to do with my star operation here was make sure that I had all the colors represented. I guess I didn't use the orange, but it still is working for me. I could do an orange star down here if I could find some leftover paper. So that is a card with leftovers. Super, super easy, and a slimline card to boot. So can't beat that. So shall we make another one, guys? Give me a thumbs up if you would like to make another one. I think we have time, hopefully. So I wanted to show you another different size that I enjoy making, again with leftovers. This one is going to be a note card, and we were showing you earlier the slimline envelopes that we have that are our craft. We also have these small envelopes that are A1 size, which is the note card size, and they measure, oh golly, my ruler is taped down here, about 5 inches wide by about 3 3/4 inches deep. So my understanding is this is the smallest size envelope you can mail without it getting held up by the post office. So if we have any postal people on our video this morning, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is the smallest size that you can mail as a standalone piece. So again, I often start with a regular A2 size envelope, and I'm just going to cut this down. And here is the dimension that I like to use for a note card so that it fits perfectly in the envelope. I just cut my card base down to 3 1/4 wide, or excuse me, 3 1/4 deep by 4 1/2 wide. So let's start with the 4 1/2, and then 3 1/4 the other direction. And that gives you a really nice size to fit in your note card envelope. And the other thing that I like about this size is it almost works perfectly for a cut apart. If you've got a 3x4 cut apart, all you have to do is cut just 1/4 inch off one side, and this size will work perfectly on the front of a card, a note card like that.
Someone commented that you were correct on your smallest mailing size.
Oh, great. Great. Thank you very much. I knew it was correct at one point, but sometimes things change with the post office.
Just the postage rates.
So again, this is a 3x4 cut apart that I just cut down to fit the front of the card. So we've got that going for us. And then I had some additional scraps, and I had these 3 scraps, and I absolutely love that plaid. And I've got this one that has the hole in the middle. I think what I'm going to do is put that so the hole doesn't show. I'm going to end up with this circle or this oval on the front, and I think I'll hide that hole there so nobody will know it's there. And what I was thinking is we could do a skinny blue strip and then the plaid at the bottom. I think that's my plan. So again, I'm going to run this across the front. And I'm not worrying about what's hanging over the edge. I'll just use my trimmer to cut that off. In fact, it'd be easier if I just lined up one edge, wouldn't it? Oh, but I can't do that. There we go. And I think what I want to do is put this blue strip in between the two of them. I think it's fun to kind of mix up the widths of your strips. So I had this little scrap, and I thought, you know what, he could be used. I don't always keep scraps that are that small, but in this case I thought it worked. So I'm just lining these guys up across. And you know what? I'm going to change my mind, and I am using repositionable adhesive, which you guys know is the best. So that allowed me to pick these pieces up with no damage to my card front. So instead of leaving the gap, I decided to put them all butted up close together. And if you're using repositionable adhesive with the dots, you can do that, which is really awesome. So now I've got these overhanging pieces. I'm just going to turn my card over and cut them off. So we'll get rid of those. All right, and then I have a leftover, have a leftover oval piece that I thought would be fun to put on the front. So I've got some pop dots preloaded here. And we're just going to add that to the front of the card, which I think is so much fun. Got like some paper hairs on that. Now, I thought, well, I want to add a couple of stars. And again, I just used some of my leftovers to cut stars. And I think we need the plaid and I think we need the blue both. So I'm going to just tuck those stars in the top. One is popped up and one is not. And then we've got another card ready to go. And I would send that card as well. So I always enjoy making these cards from scraps, and I think they can look just as good as your original cards, and now you have an extra card ready to go. So, and I thought we could maybe make a third piece, and let's just do a real quick tag.
Someone's asking where you're located, and I don't know if they mean the store or you.
Well, let's tell them both. Our store, Memory Bound, is located in central Iowa, in Ankeny, Iowa, which is just off the interstate, very close to Des Moines. And I am located in Texas. As of November, my husband and I moved down here to the Dallas-Fort Worth area to be closer to our daughter and her husband. So we were both born and raised in Iowa. We'd lived some other places, but we've been in Iowa for forever and had been in our house for 30 some years. And we uprooted and moved to Texas in November, and it's been wonderful being close to the kids.
And so far I have not missed snow one bit.
No, that's true. That's true.
The shovel is, I just brought along as a novelty, I think. Has remained dry all year.
That's right. We, yes, we did not bring the snowblower or anything, and he is not missing it. So we are loving the weather so far. So I wanted to create a tag, and if you do not have a pre-made tag, one of the things that you can do is make your own. And it's super, super easy to do with a couple of tools. So I like to make my tags about 2.5 inches wide and about 5 inches long. So that gives me a nice tag size to start with. And one of our favorite tools at the store, and our customers love this We Are Memory Keepers diagonal corner punch. And it punches 3 sizes of slanted corners. I have numbered mine. Katie gave us all this tip to indicate which corners are my favorite. This is the one I use most often, so I numbered it 1. 2 is my second favorite, and 3 I don't use quite as often. And then I flipped it over and I numbered the back side as well, because when you turn this over, like corner number 1 ends up over here. So I thought, just to keep things safe, I would number the back side too. So I think I'm going to use option number 1. And I like to turn my tag punch over, or excuse me, my diagonal corner punch, any punch over when I'm punching. I just think it works a whole lot better because you can make sure that that little corner piece is perfectly seated, like so. I think that's great. And I'm going to use a strip of paper down the right-hand side of this, or left-hand side of this tag. And it would have been smart if I had just put that on first, but that's no problem. I can just punch that. And I'm going to trim this to the same length as my tag. And I'm just going to apply this down the side. And again, I'm just using up my leftovers here. I want to just see what I could make. And honestly, I would just keep going. If I had all the time in the world, I'd just keep going, and I would keep making things until I didn't have anything left. This is the piece that I wanted to use on this particular tag. So it's elongated, so I thought we could put it down the left-hand side.
There's a link to your punches up now too.
Oh, great. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, I think this diagonal corner punch is probably one of our favorites of the season. I don't even remember when it came out, but if you are a crafter, this is a must-have punch, and it's very affordable. And even if you have tag dies, I promise you, you'll be using it all the time. It's just super easy. I've used it for lots of things other than tags as well.
Your friends at the store love that you're making a tag.
Oh, yay! Yes, I do love tags. I think perhaps I have lost one of my stars. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I have lost my stars. This is a sad day. I don't know that these are the original stars that I had planned to use, but we're going to go with it. Okay, the first thing that I want to do before I get into the stars is I do want to put a hole in the top of my tag. And I'm just going to use a regular hole punch, and I am just going to live on the edge here, and I'm just going to punch a hole. But what I like to do is make a little hole reinforcement, and I might have gotten that just a titch too close. So what I'm going to do is grab some scrap paper, and here's some blue scrap paper. This will work just fine. To make a hole reinforcement, if you don't have a special die, you're just going to use your same regular hole punch and punch a hole in your paper, and then take your 1/2-inch circle punch and line it up. If you turn it over, you can see through the back of it. Line it up like so, and just punch around that particular hole that you made. And I'm just going to add some adhesive to the back. Probably would use like a liquid adhesive normally for this, and you're just going to attach that to your tag, and right there it just finishes it up so nicely. So let's put the little stars on here. And I kind of planned this out yesterday, but now I don't remember because it was yesterday. And I have a very short memory these days. So let's just go ahead and add these stars. What I was trying to do is pick up some of the colors in this piece. So we're just going to add these two flat, and this one is popped up. And then I thought maybe I had enough ribbon that we could make a Katie junk bow. I don't know. I got
What's a Katie junk bow?
A Katie junk bow is a ribbon at the top of something that has a lot of fluff and a lot of different textures and colors. And what I have learned from Katie is when you are making a junk bow, you want to choose 3 different kinds of ribbon that look different. So I've got my grid ribbon, which we absolutely love because it curls kind of like curly ribbon. And then we've got the skinny ribbon, which is green and white, and it kind of ties into that green. And then you want something that's more solid, or it can be sheer or whatever. And I don't know which one I like better. Probably go with a light one. So I have a dark blue and a light blue seam binding. What I'm going to do is take these 3 ribbons and I'm going to try to poke them through that hole all at once. So we'll see how this goes. You want all 3 pieces to go through at once so they all are stacked together. So now that you've got them through the hole, what I like to do then is lift them up here like so, and then I will set something heavy on them so that this next step is a little bit easier. So now to tie your ribbon and make it stay in the tag, I like to use baker's twine, and I've got a pretty long length of baker's twine here. Let me grab my scissors. I'm going to cut this into 2 pieces so that I get a double bow, and I'm just going to put this behind the ribbon and tie it around the front. You want it to be nice and snug. You want to hold it really tight. And then I'm going to finish my bow. And you want to pull it very, very tight so that it doesn't go anywhere. And I like to then kind of pull each of the tails separately so that one loop gets a little bigger than the other, so that they're not all exactly lined up. And we're just going to trim everything off. We love our Katie junk bows, and she has so inspired me to do this. And if you have little bits of ribbon, this is a great way to use them up. So isn't that the cutest bow? I just love that, and it just adds so much to the top of your tag. And again, this was just made with scraps. So far, if I had like a whole bunch of time today, I would just keep going. But so far, we have made 6 cards and tags with the leftovers, and I know you could do a whole bunch more. So my challenge to you guys is, if you get the kit, keep going and make your extra cards and see how many you can do. I think it's just such a great creativity challenge to do more. And what I like to do, one more thing before we go, I'm going to show you. I like to keep my leftovers for card making in these little pouches by Avery Elle. And I keep them in a tub that I got from Target. This is a 4x6 refrigerator tub. And I've got all of my Avery Elle pouches in here with all of my card making supplies. So these are all leftovers from various things that I've made, various projects that I've made, and I put my leftovers down in here. And when I am ready to make cards, I just start here. I just grab one of these and see, I work until it's all used up. So I love my leftovers, and I have found that dedicating storage for them helps me to use them more efficiently and create lots of things that I can use. So I'm going to have Jay take the camera out of the mount, and we're going to finish up for the day. Let me ask if there are any additional questions that we have while we're doing that. And if you do have any questions, we'll make sure that we catch those before we leave. All right. So I think we are ready to wrap up for the day. A couple of things that I will mention again. We are in the middle of our March Madness ink competition, so be sure and vote if you have not voted. And we do have a 15% off, excuse me, not 50, sorry Kelly, 15% off Distress inks until Friday the 22nd through Friday the 22nd. So if you have not finished your Distress ink collection, this is a great time to do that. So head out to our website and check out the great discounts that we have there. The two kits that we talked about today are online and ready to go. We have the Kaleidoscope Card Kit that I'm sure Kelly has linked, and that will be an online class on April 2nd. And then we have the birthday card kit, which is called It's Your Birthday, and that is available now. And that is not a class. You can do those cards on your own at your leisure. So let me thank you very much for allowing me into your homes today. Appreciate that very much. And if you have any questions, please give us a call at the store, and we will see you right back here tomorrow.